had an opportunity to get.
You are live.
Oh, we're live.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is the March 27th, 2025 Coastal Permit Administrator hearing. I want to start off by indicating that the Mendocino County Coastal Permit Administrator meetings will be conducted at 860 North Bush Street, Ukiah, California, and virtual attendance will be available via Zoom. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 10 a.m. Can I please get a determination of noticing?
All items on the agenda have been properly noticed.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that moves us to the regular calendar, item 3A, which is CDP 2021-0046. The owner applicant is Clay Brennan. The agent is Wynn Coastal Planning and Biology, Inc. Request is a standard coastal development permit to construct a guest cottage, music studio, garage, workshop, utility structure, and roof mount solar, as well as covered porches and decking within within the request is a connection to the existing septic, including new septic tank, installation of replacement of septic field, water tanks, and the connection to utilities and driveway with retaining wall. Allow for also it's a follow-up to an emergency permit, EM 2021-0003, to drill 3 test wells and convert 1 test well to a production well, depending on location approved by the California Coastal Commission. And let's see, coastal development permit number 1-90-113-A2. It has been determined that this project is categorically exempt from CEQA. The project is located in the coastal zone, 8± miles north of Fort Bragg, 0.25 miles south of Ocean Meadow subdivision on the west side of State Route 1, immediately west of Camp 2 10-mile road, located at 29020 North Highway 1, Fort Bragg, assessor's parcel number 015-350-50. May I please get a staff report?
Good morning, CPA Gonzalez. Very nice to see you and glad to have you here. My name is Jessie Waldman. I am a planner for Mendocino County Planning and Building Services. And I'm here to present this project as described by CPA Gonzalez. The project is located in the coastal zone. It is a bluff top parcel. It is at the mouth of the 10-mile river north of Fort Bragg. The project is mapped highly scenic and it is west of the first public road. Its general plan classifications is rural residential with a planned development combining district with a minimum of 10 acres in size. The parcel's legal size as it stands today is 3.65 acres in size, and its zoning designation is rural residential and with a planned unit development combining district as well out of the Division 2 of Title 20's Mendocino County Zoning Code. A little bit of background about this project is this project has, I don't want to say that it has mixed jurisdiction, but there is coastal development permits that have been issued by the California Coastal Commission as mentioned within the request. And the original coastal development permits designated building envelopes for this site due to its highly scenic and the avoidance of visual impacts for this site. And I will talk about that as I move along in this presentation. The emergency permit 2021-03 was done, and that allowed the owner to have proof of adequate water. Throughout the years, the application has changed its request due to request for accessory dwelling units on this parcel and the flood zoning along the mouth of 10-mile, being at the mouth of 10-mile river and the Pacific Ocean. What I would like to do is I would like to share screen to show you where the development is proposed within this staff report, if that is all right.
Go ahead.
Thank you. One more, go. All right. So this is the site plan that is presented to you in front. Can everybody see that?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. So it is important in this project to talk about the Coastal Commission's coastal development permit because of the building envelopes on the site. And this site is currently developed with a single family residence, and you can see that in this area here. It has a driveway that comes off of Highway 1, an existing driveway. It's a darker shaded black line area of the driveway and the existing single family residence. And its parking and its connection to the utilities on the site, including wells and septic systems. And the applicant, as mentioned, is proposing to develop a number of accessory uses which are permissible with the issuance of a coastal development permit. And the flood zone comes along the mouth of the river, and so that's important for how the owner chooses to develop his parcel. And then because of the Coastal Commission, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, because of the Coastal Commission's designation for two building envelopes. One is this area here for their replacement septic system for future use. We'll talk about that. So you can see this darker line. This is one of the building envelopes that the Coastal Commission approved for development, and that's all going to be underground development. And then there is a darker line, and I wish I had a highlighter. Nope, I don't have a highlighter. But if I had a highlighter, I would show you this darker line that kind of turns into a little bit of a rectangle. And you can see these hatched buildings in this area where the accessory development is proposed. And so the Coastal Commission really wants all development to be condensed into a clustered building area, and giving the Mendocino County, the lead agency, the authority to further develop the site. We're restricted to these specific building envelopes. Also within this project is going to be the connection of the new development in this area to the existing septic system. And then for in the future, when they want to come in for another coastal development for the replacement septic system, there will be trenching that goes outside of the building envelopes, and that is specifically allowed in the California Coastal Commission's coastal development permits. We have a cluster of buildings proposed, and there's the guest cottage, and that will be consistent with our Mendocino County regulations for size limitations and for deed restrictions for not renting it out for income, because it per the regulations of guest cottages. We do have the visual impacts sections of our local coastal plan and our Mendocino County zoning regulations. And this site has gone through very detailed analysis with the Coastal Commission and the landowner and their agents. And the landowner has modified their development to reduce the height of their structures so that they will be consistent with the 18-foot height limitation in the rural residential zoning districts for highly scenic. The color scheme, they have provided a color schematic. I will go to that page now. That has been reviewed by the Coastal Commission and considered as acceptable. And they have proof of water. Let's see, what other key issues do I have? I will go back to the site plan, because there is environmental resources that were found on the parcel. And one thing that will be that is recommended within the conditions of approval is landscaping for screening and the type of landscaping that will be required or recommended by the Coastal Commission and by CDFW, as well as fencing to prohibit people from encroaching further into environmentally sensitive habitat area. And I bring that up today because the site plan that is within the hearing packet that's proposed, I'm going to zoom in, and there is this line here with an X through it. This is this marcation of fencing. This is not acceptable to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife recommendations. And I do have a recommended condition of approval that this fencing should be as close as possible to all development, as close to the building envelope that has been approved by the California Coastal Commission. This condition has been reviewed by the landowner and their agents, and it would require that a site plan showing where this designated animal-friendly low fence will be put on the site. So this is not going to be acceptable, or was not accepted by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. So there will be a minor, a new site plan being requested for this project. The project did prepare an archaeological survey. I'm gonna stop sharing screen now. There we go. The project was accepted by the Mendocino County Archaeological Commission in September of 2022. There is a standard condition of the discovery clause, as well as the recommendation of having an archaeological monitor present during foundation work. And there is a reduced buffer analysis that was done as a part of the biological scoping survey for this project, and that was also accepted by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and you will see conditions that are recommended within the staff report to reduce any impact to environmentally sensitive habitat areas. The project does have a septic system permit that has been applied for at the Environmental Health Department for a 5-bedroom capacity. This permit has not been issued, but it has been approved. It is pending the issuance of this coastal development permit, should it be approved. Those are the major key issues. As long as the conditions are followed within this staff report, the project is found to be exempt from CEQA. It is found to be consistent with our local coastal plan and our our Title 20 Division 2 zoning regulations. Just want to double check. There have been multiple deed restrictions on this parcel recorded, and I just want to make sure. And I apologize for the pause because of the guest cottage. Condition 12 does require, for guest cottages in the coastal zone, they do require a deed restriction, and I wanted to just confirm that condition 12 is in there, that prior to issuance of any building permits in reliance with this coastal development permit, there will be an additional deed restriction that is required to prohibit the rental of the guest cottage. It should not have a kitchen or cooking or preparation of food. Staff has not received any comments from the public, and the landowner is not present today, but their agent, Miss Amy Wynn, is present, and I would recommend approval of this project as written in the staff report with the recommended conditions of approval. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you, Jesse. At this point, I'll go ahead and hear from the applicant's agent.
Thank you, CPA Gonzalez. It's good to see you this morning. And Jesse, thank you so much for your work on this project. We've done a lot of work together on this project, and on behalf of Clay and the whole project team, we are thankful to you for your work and your diligence on this project, and we support the staff report and conditions as written. Thank you very much.
All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Any members of the public that are present, please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes, right?
Yes. Do you
Is
want
it
to
just
start in
me?
the room? Do you want to start in the room and then
We'll
online?
start in the room and then we'll go to online.
Okay, my name is Kathy Boyle, and I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner, and I work in Fort Bragg and live in Fort Bragg. And actually, I live right next door to this new project. We have 2 little houses there, and one little house will look directly on the project. It's feet within our kitchen window. But more importantly, I am concerned. When we bought in 2013, it's a nature preserve, and we have lots and lots of animals there that come through. And I brought a picture that I don't know how, I didn't get them in time, but this particular tree in this picture is where the guest cottage would be, and there's
Do you want to
eagles.
submit that for the record?
Yes, please. And there's eagles actually there's a pair of eagles that actually live in that tree, and they actually nest in that tree and actually produced offspring last year. So that's worrisome. And then I was worried when he did his wells last year that one of the wells, which is in this picture that I'm submitting, is probably, I don't know, I'll exaggerate and say it's probably 200 feet from our well. So it's, I don't know if there's going to be an impact in, our water out there. And also, this is another well that is on the same parcel, because I was reading in the description that there were going to be test wells, but there was only going to be one additional well on the property. So I'm concerned about water. I'm concerned about the wildlife that we have there, and the impact that this is going to have on that wildlife. And I'm happy to hear that the wetlands area, because clearly was marked by the fencing that they were talking about, because this is a picture that there's lots of water in that area where there's a lot of wildlife that come in. And that was where they were talking about the fence being moved back. So that was awesome. I'm glad to hear that we have. But I think probably the biggest thing is knowing that it's a nature preserve. We bought knowing, what restrictions were there and how, we were going to see all the natural wildlife. And this project, while it's a big project, I think has an impact not only on us as neighbors, but also on the wildlife. So I'm very concerned. And I'm surprised it passed coastal the first time. So. Was that my time? Ooh.
Yeah. So you made it just in time. Okay. Now, seeing nobody else in the room, let's go ahead and open it up to folks online.
All right. We have SVRTHPO.
All right. You can go ahead and state your name for the record, and you can go ahead and put your hand down.
This is Valerie Stanley, the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer from Sherwood Valley. Jesse, I just had a question. Simple yes or no. When the Art Commission did the discovery clause, you had said that they wanted an archaeologist there. Is that right, or was it cultural monitor? Big difference between the two.
One moment, let me double check the verbiage. One moment. So the comments that were received during the review process of this project, Sherwood Valley Band of Pomo Indians did also supply comments where they agreed with the Art Commission on the discovery clause and did not recommend a monitor on site. However, the Art Commission comments, and I may have to pull up the action sheet from the Archaeological Commission hearing. Additionally, the commission recommended an archaeological monitor. Let me go to that document really quickly if I am allowed through the CPA.
Go right ahead. I'm just reviewing the conditions here.
I do not.
I see condition number 8 that says if any archaeological sites or artifacts are discovered during site excavation or construction activities, the property owner shall cease and desist from all further excavation and disturbances within 100 feet of the discovery and make notification of the discovery to the Director of the Department of Planning and Building Services. The Director will coordinate further actions for the protection of the archaeological resources in accordance with Section 22-12-090 of the Mendocino County Code. And I'm looking for the presence of any monitors, and I don't see that.
So what I do have, if I may through the chair, I do have the action sheet from the Art Commission where they accepted the survey that was completed and they did not add any additional recommendations at the hearing itself. And staff typically adds the discovery clause. So
basically the Art Commission found that the discovery clause was sufficient.
they did with their action sheet that I have on file.
And there is no provision for an archaeological monitor to be present during construction.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, because when you said that, I'm like, wait a minute. So, can you just send me that action sheet? Because I didn't work here then. So, can you just shoot that to me, Jesse, and we're all good. Thank you for your time.
I can do that.
All right, thank you. Do you have any other comment? No, guess not. Is there anybody else present that wishes to comment on this project? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the CPA. I've got some questions. So some concerns have been brought up, and the first one is overlook issues, where you have a new structure, possibly overlooking onto a neighbor's property or structures. And again, I'm going to ask staff to answer this, and if not, then perhaps Ms. Nguyen can jump in and provide us with some information here. But there's, to my knowledge, there's no policies in the LCP that deal directly with overlook, but there are considerations that should be given to nearby properties. And again, something we've seen in the past is that visual impacts are really looked at from the public right-of-way, the road and so on, and not necessarily from the neighbor's properties. So, Jesse, could you elaborate on this first issue on overlook?
I can. Thank you, CPA Gonzalez. So the Mendocino Coastal Act and the Mendocino County Visual Resources, Chapter 20.504, specifically talk about visual resources and the protection of visual impacts from a public right-of-way to the Pacific Ocean. And this project has undergone an extensive analysis of the policies 3.51, 3.53, and 3.54, and the landowner has reduced the amount of development. He has reduced the height of his proposed buildings, and he has also revised his color schematic to further reduce the visual impact of this parcel. The Coastal Commission felt very strongly about having a clustered development in an isolated site on the parcel, thus the building envelopes, to allow for the view from Highway 1. The project is consistent with setbacks, the project to its property lines, the heights have been reduced. The California Coastal Commission's Coastal Development Permit 1-90-131 and its amendments, there's been multiple amendments to that coastal development permit, really emphasizes the need for the consolidated development on this parcel, the clustered development. The overall interpretation of the local coastal plan is that all development shall not be impeding upon the public view to the Pacific Ocean. There will be additional trees that will be required to be planted for a view when you're northbound on Highway 1 and southbound along the eastern and southern portions of the proposed development. And the regulations really are about protecting the view shed from the public, and the landowner's been very conscientious of those exterior, what those visual impacts are in modifying their proposed development. The owner has also supplied a visual study that was done, and I do have those. Those are not a part of the staff report. They were a part of the referral packet that went out with this project about different colors, where the development would be, and their height, their proposed heights on the site. And I believe that that is the information that I can provide.
Okay, thank you. Next question that came up is relative to eagles nesting. And there was a photograph that was submitted, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but there's a tree that, as I'm looking towards the ocean, it's there. And what was stated was that this tree has eagles in it. And I know there was a biological assessment that was done. And I'm actually going to turn to Ms. Nguyen and ask her to elaborate on this as the potential for birds nesting, raptors, and so on. And I know that there's comments in the staff report. There's analysis in here about nest avoidance and so on. I'm concerned about vegetation removal, but at the same time, it's more the impact to the birds. But is this something, obviously, that is going to require tree removal? If so, how does the biologist approach this? So I'm going to go ahead and ask Ms. Nguyen to elaborate on this.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, CPA Gonzalez. I'm sorry, I'm using your old title.
That's long gone now.
Yes, I know. And you are correct. We do have those conditions of approval, along with others that that allow us to, or that include monitoring, pre-construction surveys and monitoring to prevent impacts to birds and I don't think we have anything about bats on this property, but I think it's just birds and amphibians and reptiles. So there will not be any disturbance to any birds as a result of this project. The tree that's in that photo is on the western the western point of the property, which is more than 100 feet away from the proposed development, and it is close to the area of that septic building envelope and the western portion of the property. There, for this project, we don't need to do any, actually, I think we might need to add one septic line for this project. I can't quite remember, but we do have those pre-construction surveys for birds and amphibians that will avoid potential impacts to any nesting species. And again, there's no tree removal proposed for this project. At least that western tree is not, we're very far. We might even be 200 feet away from that. So thank you for that question. And then I do have a clarification on the well comment if you want.
Go right ahead, but thank you very much for the clarification. I was more interested in the tree removal more than anything else, because if it was serving as a nest, that's something that we want to go ahead and avoid. And I also see that Fish and Game reviewed the study and didn't have any negative comments. Is
Sure.
that Jesse?
I'm sorry, that's Jesse. That's for Jesse to say. Sorry.
If I may, through the CPA, so California Department of Fish and Wildlife did review this site. They accepted the survey with further conditions, and that was the native species planting. The Coastal Commission has requested trees screening on the southern portion of the development and on the eastern portion of the development. The planting survey or the planting plan, those are specifically commented on with the CDFW's comments about specific types of planting. The only vegetation removal that I believe is going to be happening is during ground disturbance at the ground level of foundation, and also during the trenching that is required to connect the new septic tank at the cluster development and trenching it to where the existing septic system is. So the only ground or vegetation removal that is my understanding of this project is at the ground level. There's no trees to be removed. There may be some bramble that goes on the west side of the existing driveway that needs to be worked through to get to that trenching, but no trees to be removed. The recommendations within the staff report do cover birds, bats, and amphibians, as well as special status or potential impact to special status vegetation. And so CDFW did not have arguments against the report, but they accepted it with further conditions. The low-lying animal-friendly fencing to be located as close to development as possible, and they accepted the reduced buffer analysis. So I hope that clarifies for you.
Thank you. So now I'm going to ask Ms. Nguyen to go ahead and elaborate on the wells.
Thank you. Just very quickly, our initial request was to have the approval to drill more than one well in the case that the first well did not provide sufficient water. The first well that we drilled did provide sufficient water, so we stopped there. So with our original request, there has been one new well drilled on the property. Thank you.
And how far is that well from the neighboring properties?
Let's see. I'm looking at an aerial, and I am guessing that it's probably a couple hundred feet from I don't know which residence, the neighbor from the northern residence on the neighbor's property.
Okay, so we're probably looking at about 200 feet. Well, and this well has been reviewed by the Division of Environmental Health, Jesse?
If I may, just to clarify, on the proposed site plan, there is the, test well that, is located on the approximately 25 feet from the eastern property line, and I can share screen to show you where that well that is proposed to be the production well is. The well permits have been issued. That was under the Emergency Coastal Development Permit 2103. So there was every well permit that is issued through the Environmental Health Department, you're allowed 3 drill sites. These applicants and their contractors have drilled those, they either drilled 1, found water, or they drilled 2, drilled 1, found water, stopped drilling, but they were allowed up to 3 drill sites until they found water. Otherwise, they would have to come back for another environmental health permit for wells. So the site plan on page 35 of your hearing packet, at the northeast corner, you'll see the proposed driveway that will be feeding that's within the Coastal Commission's building envelope. It will be serving these accessory buildings. There is a well, it says exist E, parentheses E, for existing test well, convert to a production well. And there will also be underground storage tanks for water that will be just south of the proposed driveway and parking area for these accessory buildings. That permit has been issued. It has been completed due to the original request that was for an accessory dwelling unit. And that goes into a whole other regulatory process for the requirements to build an accessory dwelling unit. That's not part of this project at this time. So the test well has been drilled, the well permit has been issued and finalized, and it will be if this project is approved as recommended, it would become a production well to serve the development on the parcel.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think we've had some answers to some of the questions. I'm actually going to ask our neighbor here, if you could identify yourself for the record again.
Kathy Boyle.
Kathy Boyle, you've heard the information provided. The conditions of approval have been stated, and there's archaeological resources have been talked about. There's been discussion about the overlook issues and screening. Obviously, my concern is that, as well as impacts to the eagles that you brought up. The tree's not going to be removed. They have to do bird surveys, pre-construction surveys to make sure that nothing happens. And generally what happens during the pre-construction surveys is they look at when the birds are nesting, when the birds are present, and they try to make conditions to avoid any development going on that would basically impact these animals. Again, it's been stated that there's no tree removal going on as part of the project. And as part of the wells and water analysis, I mean, basically the Division of Environmental Health wants to see quite a bit of information before they allow for these wells to be dug. And they use the information that's being provided to them by the well diggers or drillers, and then they evaluate the permit before they're issuing the permit. So it's my understanding that the permit's been issued, it's just pending the approval of this project. Basically, my question to you is the information that you've received here answer your questions?
It does, one clarifying fact for, is our house is, so when I look out the kitchen window, I'm looking out at where the cluster of houses is gonna be. And I don't know if they could tell me how far away, I know it's on their side of the property line, but how close, because right now I'm looking at a meadow.
Right.
And
What side of the property are you on, just for clarification?
Next to my property line, which is next to
East, south, north, which one?
west.
You're
So-
west,
so-
on the west side.
Yeah,
Okay.
the property line goes north to south. We're on the east side. Their new cluster of places is right on the west side, right next to our house.
All right, so
So
my question now to staff is, will there be any visual screening between this neighbor and the proposed cluster?
Yes, there will. There are as shown on the site plan, there are a specific planting called out as recommended by the California Coastal Commission along the eastern parcel boundary line. That is in between Miss Boyle's property and Mr. Brennan's property. Those are shore pines or other appropriate native tree species. They will need to be submitting a new site plan with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife fencing and vegetation to make sure that that is captured for part of this coastal development permit. There are trees and shrubs that are on that eastern line. Now, Miss Boyle, you live there, so you know exactly what you're looking at. Staff did conduct a site visit and was not able to see other development from the footprint of the building envelopes. So that screening is proposed per the Coastal Commission, and it is indicated on the site plan. And
So I guess my question is, when the screening goes up, they should provide adequate screening so that the neighbor is not looking at the other neighbor, right?
that's correct.
Okay,
Can I
So-
just ask a question? Can I interrupt you for a second?
sure.
Can you tell me how, I know it's on their side of the property line, but where the structure, because unfortunately, we're like 3 feet from our property line. So I'm wondering how close they are to their property line. Is it 10 feet?
If I may, through the chair, share my screen again to show a visual.
Sure, go right ahead.
Thank you. So this is the site plan, and I'm just gonna go to an aerial map just for a moment. This is an aerial
Can
image.
you blow it up a little bit? Can you, yeah, blow it up a little bit more. Okay,
So this is the intersection of Highway 1 and the private driveway that I believe serves Mrs. Boyle's property, or Miss Boyle, I'm sorry. And I believe this is her private driveway. And then the existing private driveway that serves the parcel, the subject parcel for today, there, I believe that there is screening along this property line already existing. And the development is going to be in, we might be off a little bit because of where the house, the neighbor's house is showing this. I believe this lighter vegetation line or lack of vegetation line is the property line. This is a mow strip. This is not a driveway. It is a mow strip that the landowner has been mowing. But the envelope of the development is in this area. If you can see my mouse moving around, and screening will be required in this area. And they are proposed to be the bishop pine and the other native plant species that are appropriate. And I do see Amy Wynn has her hand up. So I believe that this is the site in question, or the neighbor site in question, and I'm going to go back to my site plan. And I'm zoomed in, so now I have to zoom back out because it's a bigger sheet. You can see these clouded gray lines right here. This is the screening that is proposed, and this is recommended by the Coastal Commission. And as long as they are native species, they are acceptable by the CDFW, California Department of Fish and
so when they,
Wildlife.
I'm gonna go ahead and it's back
Yeah.
to me. So, the question I've got is, the screening that they're going to plant, how far off from the property line is it going to be? Is it gonna be on the property line? Is it gonna be 5 feet from the property line? On their side, where is the screening going to be? Obviously, there has to be a planting plan that has to be submitted to detail that, but any idea of where it would be placed at this point in time? And again, Amy can go ahead and maybe answer that as well, because you're obviously going to have to put together the planting plan. Okay, so you've highlighted something there.
I have, and there's the property line is this bold property line, and there is a 20-yard setback for the coastal
20
rural
yard or 20
residential.
feet?
So the planning will be within the 20-yard, excuse
It's
me,
yards, not feet, correct?
it says 20 feet from the property. It's a 20-foot yard setback.
Okay,
So
it's a 20-foot yard. Okay, it's at 20 feet.
it's the 20 foot, so there will be landscaping within the 20-foot setback on that side property line.
Okay.
And then you can also see I've highlighted this 30
Okay.
foot, that's for the CAL FIRE structures, and the closest structure to that eastern property line would be 30 feet.
All right. Amy, I know you had your hand raised. Did you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. Thank you, CPA Gonzalez, and I appreciate the question. This is our planting plan. We did not originally request screening vegetation for our project. This is something that is required by the Coastal Commission to protect public views of so that they minimize the visual impact of this clustered development for the guest cottage and workshop and garage. And so Jesse is correct. These trees along the property line are proposed to be planted within that 20 foot side yard, or I guess that's probably I don't know if that's the front yard or the side yard, but 20-foot yard setback. And since we have the CAL FIRE 30-foot yard setback and wanting to keep a little bit of distance between the home and the trees for fire smart landscaping, we're proposing on planting the trees within the 20-foot yard setback rather than all the way up to the 30-foot yard setback.
Okay. All right, so.
If I may, I'm sorry. To help Ms. Boyle orient herself to the project, since she lives right next door, she is probably familiar with that the power lines that go through the property, and it may help her to visualize the proposed project by knowing that all of the development will be on the northeast side of that utility line, and for this project not to the southwest side. That's probably the easiest way for Ms. Boyle to visualize the project.
Okay, I think Ms. Boyle has a
I have
question.
another question. Can you go back to the picture just so it's the actual photograph instead of this?
The aerial?
The aerial picture, because I think that it's deceiving where the property line is versus where it looks like that big bold dark line. So yeah, can you blow that up? And then just so you all understand, it's not this dark line right here. It's oh no, you didn't.
No, Jesse, I think you blew it up too much or something.
Yeah, can you go a little bit smaller? A little bit smaller? Now you can
Yeah, okay.
go back to the beginning, I think, and then,
Right there. All right.
okay. So this dark line right here.
Jesse,
Sorry.
you just were.
Anyway, the dark
There you
line,
go.
the dark line is not the property line, just so you're clear. So this line right here is the property line. This is our house right here. So our house is, right now they show that dark line is going over. That's our house. And the way I'm understanding it is this is where the cluster is gonna be right here.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is where the well is. So this is where the cluster, so this is my kitchen window looking right here, and this is the property line right here. Okay? So we're really close to the property line, and it's gonna be right there. So it's,
Okay.
that's how close it is. So it's very deceiving because that dark line is not the property line. And that's part of the issue that is concerning, is to make sure that we have the right line for property.
Okay, so at this point, I'm going to bring it back to the CPA. Amy, you've got a question to clarify?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that our LCP is protecting public vantage points, correct, and not private.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, understood. So the way the LCP is set up, it's not set up to protect the neighbors' views, it's really set up to protect the public's views. But in this case, I'm looking at the whole big picture here and looking at, what's actually going to happen. I mean, we really won't know until the planting plan comes in for the details, but we do know that there will be plantings alongside that property line that will visually screen the cluster development from the neighbor's property. So, my recommendation at this point is, when that planting plan comes in for review by staff, because you're going to need it before the issuance of the building permit, you review that plan to make sure that it is adequately screening, the public view, but you're getting some screening between the neighbors. And with that, I've had enough information submitted here that I'm pretty comfortable with this. It's just that I'm asking staff that when you get that planting plan, review it, look at the site, and look at the neighboring property as well, and look at the plantings that are going to go in there to make sure that in time they will visually screen. And I will put this out there. A planting plan or the vegetation doesn't grow immediately. It's going to take some time for it to grow. So it's not like you're going to see complete screening overnight. It's going to take months. It might take a year plus or longer, but eventually you'll get that natural visual screening, which is a great alternative to a large block wall. And that's the whole idea of trying to use nature to screen things. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and approve the project based on the conditions and findings contained in the staff report. And I'll just, like I said, request that that planting plan be carefully evaluated.
Thank you, CPA.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on.
Thank you for your participation.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay. Amy, Jesse, thank you very much for all the clarification. Nothing really changed, so we can go ahead and move on.
Thank you very much.
Pardon? Well, I think somebody said something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's see here. So item 3A is approved. Let's go to 3B, which is CDP 2024-0006. The owner applicant is Daniel McGrath and Dong Ding. Request is a standard coastal development permit to gravel a driveway, install a 640 square foot modular single family residence with a deck, install a roof mounted solar system, an 80 square foot storage shed, a pump tank, construct a utility hookups, a fenced garden area, and remove 2 dead trees. In addition, the project proposes to install a culvert pipe under the proposed driveway to connect the drainage ditch. Based on the review of the project, it's been determined that a mitigated negative declaration is recommended under CEQA. The project is located in the coastal zone 1.5 miles north of Guala Town Center, 0.02 plus minus miles west of the intersection of State Route 1 and Old Coast Highway, located at 37891 Old Coast Highway, Gualala. APN 145122-09. May I please get a staff report?
Hello, Coastal Permit Administrator. Shelby Miller, Project Planner here. As previously stated, the project requests a standard coastal development permit for a single-family residence and ancillary structures. The project is located within the Rural Residential Zoning District and complies with all the provisions within Mendocino County Code, Chapter 20.496, including the setbacks and building height provisions. The project is currently a customer at the North Gualala Water Company and will be served with water by them. And septic services will be served by the Gualala Community Service District. The project materials included several biological reports, including a botanical and wildlife survey, a biological scoping report, and 2 wetland delineation reports. 2 sensitive natural communities were identified, including the Coastal Bluff Morning Glory and the Northern Bishop Pine and Douglas Fir Association. The wetland delineation reports indicate a wetland covers a very large portion of the property and only really allowing a small area of land to build. And also the project materials include a reduced buffer analysis, which assessed the biological reports, site conditions, and determined that with added mitigation measures, the project would have a less than significant impact on the environment. The project was referred to all applicable agencies, including the Coastal Commission and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Both the Coastal Commission and Department of Fish and Wildlife reviewed the biological reports and recommended that all conditions and mitigation measures be incorporated. And the Coastal Commission also recommended that the applicant record a deed restriction to prevent future encroachment into the identified environmentally sensitive habitat areas that were identified. Okay. And then the Department of Fish and Wildlife recommended the following. 1, the installation of low symbolic fencing along the buffer boundaries to prevent further encroachment into the natural resources on site, and it'll be at the 50-foot buffer. And then 2, target the removal of non-native invasive species, and 3, plant native and locally appropriate tree and shrub species within the buffer areas and outside of the designated garden area to augment the sensitive natural communities on site. All recommendations were incorporated as conditions of approval, and also project materials included the geotechnical investigation, which recommended that the foundation, pier drilling operation, construction, and earthwork be supervised and certified by a licensed engineering geologist or a registered civil engineer with soil analysis expertise. And then with all mitigation measures incorporated, the project would have, a less than significant impact on the environment. Thus, the project requests the adoption of a mitigated negative declaration in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, and staff recommends the project be approved with conditions. And that is all.
Thank you very much. So at this point, I will go ahead and hear from the applicant or their agent. It's Daniel McGrath.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, could you please state your name for the record and go right ahead?
My name is Daniel McGrath, and I'm here with my wife, Dong Dong Ding. We are the owners of the property, and we have carefully reviewed the project summary, and we agree with it as well as the conditions as stated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so at this point, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter? For those of you that are online, just go ahead and raise your hand if you wish to speak. Seeing none, I'll return it back to the Coastal Permit Administrator. So I have reviewed the staff report, reviewed the initial study for the project. Very well done, thank you. And it looks like all issues have been covered. So I will go ahead and move to approve the project pursuant to the findings and conditions contained in the staff report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Shelby, for your hard work.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. McGrath, thank you very much for your patience.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right, so that brings us to item 3C, CDP 2024-0013, Owner is Art Shattuck. Agent is Megan Durbin, Wind Coastal Planning Biology. This is a request for a standard coastal development permit to repair an existing septic system that serves an existing single-family residence. It's been determined to be categorically exempt under CEQA. The project is located within the coastal zone, 0.8 plus or minus miles southwest of Casper Town Center on Greenling Circle, 0.6 plus or minus miles west of the intersection of Point Cabrillo Drive and State Route 1, located at 45460 Greenling Circle, Mendocino, assessor's parcel number 118-39007. Now please get a staff report.
Thank you. Project planner Shelby Miller here. As previously stated, the project requests a standard coastal development permit to repair an existing septic system that serves an existing single-family residence on a blufftop parcel. The project materials included a biological scoping survey prepared by Wind Coastal Planning and Biology, dated July 1st, 2024, in which it identified a freshwater seep, which is an environmentally sensitive habitat area, and it's located west of the bluff edge on the subject parcel. The existing septic system and leach field are located within the 50-foot buffer of this identified wetland, or seep, I should say. The project would abandon the existing leach field and connect the existing septic tank to the replacement leach field to the east of the single-family residence, which is located greater than 100 feet from the ESHA, or environmentally sensitive habitat area. Wind Coastal Planning conducted a reduced buffer analysis and determined that a 100-foot buffer is not necessary to protect the freshwater seep, and instead a 50-foot buffer is recommended. The buffer area, as stated by Wind Coastal Planning, was measured from the top of the wetland seep, where vegetation begins to include plant species that often occur in wetlands. Approximately 15 linear feet of effluent piping connecting to the septic distribution would be within the 50-foot buffer of the freshwater seep. And the proposed piping components will be the same distance or farther from the freshwater seep. Within the biological report, it states that no impact on any environmentally sensitive habitat areas is anticipated. Wind Coastal Planning also stated that there is no other feasible alternative project to connect the existing septic tank and distribution box. And also they provided an alternative location, but it turned out that that location would actually create more of an impact than what is proposed today, or within this project, I should say. Wind Coastal also provided several avoidance and habitat enhancement measures, such as removing the non-native plants on site and seed the bare areas with native species and plant some native species within that buffer. The project was referred to all applicable agencies, including the California Department of Fish and Wildlife and California Coastal Commission, in which the Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Coastal Commission also agreed and supported the recommendations provided by Wind Coastal Planning. In addition, the project also included an archaeological survey and recommended tribal monitoring, cultural resource awareness training for contractors prior to the construction, and the discovery clause. And then the project was heard by the Archaeological Commission, in which they accepted and concurred with the survey's findings and recommendations. The project, as proposed, is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act review under Section 15304 for minor alterations of land. Staff recommends the project be approved with the added conditions provided by the Archaeological Survey, the Biological Survey, and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And then also staff prepared a memorandum just yesterday, March 27th, 2025, in which staff identified an error on the staff report. There were 2 conditions of approval, number 23, and I corrected the conditions. Basically, the second number 23 needs to be omitted, and then I added a line, and I'll state it for the record. So condition of approval number 23 states cultural resource awareness training shall occur per the recommendations of the archaeological report prepared by Alta Archaeological Consulting on December 6th, 2024. Prior to construction activities, a professional archaeological or archaeologist or tribal monitor shall train and educate the contractors, supervisors, contract foremen, crew members, and any additional construction personnel. The purpose of the training is to increase awareness and knowledge of cultural resources and to describe the appropriate protocols in the event of an inadvertent discovery. And thank you, that is all.
Thank you. So I see 2 condition number 23s.
Yes.
So basically this memo will eliminate those 2 and this will substitute.
Not exactly. I
Oh.
would say the second number 23 should be omitted, and then just
And then this is replacing that one.
yeah, the red line is going to replace. Well, it's just going to add on to. I think I just didn't type the whole thing for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't have the whole condition in 23 on the staff report.
Yeah,
It's missing.
yeah.
So,
After the purpose is where
right.
it says.
So what we're gonna
omitted.
do is basically this condition is replacing.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, this condition is replacing. The memo replaces condition number 23 and you're eliminating the duplicate.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. All right, with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and ask the applicant or the applicant's agent if they have any comments.
Hello, Megan Durbin of Wind Coastal Planning and Biology, agent for the applicant. Thank you so much, Shelby and Nash, for your work. Shelby, for all of your work on the staff report. Everything is in order. We've reviewed it, and I'm just here for any questions or other needs. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I see Mr. Shattuck is also online. Do you have any comments you'd like to make?
I just wanted you to know that this is a place that we have built in 1972. My folks built it, and I helped with shingles and insulation. We love it. It's a family place that we will keep in the family as long as humanly possible. And but we need the septic to work. And now that after 50 years, the leach field has filled up, and so we'll go ahead and do what we need to do in order to make it so we can still enjoy it.
Okay, and could you state your name for the record?
This is Art Shattuck.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and return it back to the coastal permit administrator. So based on the evidence provided here, which is the staff report and conditions of approval and findings, I will go ahead and approve the project subject to the findings contained in the staff report with modifications to the conditions, which basically is condition number 3 is amended by memo dated 3/27/25 and eliminating any duplicate number 23s in the staff report. So the memo takes precedence over the staff report. All right. So thank you very much, everybody, for all your hard work on this. Okay. That brings us to item number 4, matters from staff. Do we have any matters from staff?
None today?
I don't
Nothing?
have any, thank
All
you.
right. All right, so none. Matters from the public. The Coastal Permit Administrator welcomes participation in meetings. This item is limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the Coastal Permit Administrator, which are not on the posted agenda, and items which have not already been considered by the Coastal Permit Administrator, so no action will be taken. Are there any matters from the public? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and move to item number 6, which is adjournment, and I will adjourn the meeting at 11:10 a.m. Thank you, everybody.
Go Beans.
All right.